Marcus had seen many strange things in his years working as a janitor on orbital station Helios. Broken machines, spilled chemicals, even smuggled contraband left in air vents. But nothing was stranger than the day he found the hand. It was lying, inside a shattered crate, glowing faintly, as if refusing to die. The salvage crew had dragged in wreckage from a destroyed alien vessel, most of it twisted metal and unrecognizable parts. Everyone else ignored the severed hand, dismissing it as dead tissue. But Marcus, sweeping quietly in the background, felt a pull toward it. He reached down, brushing dust away, and the fingers twitched. Just once, but enough to make him freeze. For a long time, Marcus simply stared at it. A piece of someone. A life cut short. He thought of his daughter, who had moved away to another colony years ago. He thought of the silence between them now, the unanswered letters. He had always been clumsy with words, never knowing how to bridge the distance. This hand, alone in the wreckage, reminded him of himself. He couldn't walk away. Marcus hid the hand in a small containment pod. Every night after his shift, he checked on it. Most people on the station were busy with repairs, trade, or military drills. No one paid attention to an old janitor with tired eyes. Weeks passed. The medbay regeneration chamber meant for wounded soldiers had been left idle. Marcus, with nervous hands, placed the hand inside. He wasn't a doctor, but the machine did the work on its own, feeding cells, knitting tissue, rebuilding what was lost. And slowly, unbelievably, a body grew. The alien girl was fragile at first, like glass newly forged. Pale skin shimmered faintly, and her eyes remained closed. Marcus cleaned the chamber, whispered words even though she couldn't hear. "Don't be afraid," he told her softly. "You're not alone." It was strange, caring for something that might never wake. Yet he felt less lonely when he sat beside her. The silence reminded him of waiting for a reply from his daughter, checking his messages every morning only to find nothing. But here, with this hand-turned body, he wasn't waiting for words. He was waiting for life, and that was a kind of hope. Then, one quiet night, her eyes opened. They were bright, liquid silver, filled with confusion and fear. She gasped for air, trembling inside the pod. Marcus stumbled back, heart pounding, then slowly stepped forward again. He pressed the release. The chamber hissed open. The alien girl collapsed forward, weak, shivering. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground. She was light as air, fragile as a child. She looked up at him, wide-eyed. The first face she saw was not a doctor, not a soldier, not a leader. It was the face of a tired janitor who still carried hope inside him. She tried to speak, but no words came out, only broken sounds. Marcus shook his head gently. "It's all right," he whispered. "You don't have to say anything." He wrapped her in a blanket, sitting with her on the floor. For hours, they just sat like that, two souls who didn't know how to bridge the distance between them, but who refused to let it grow wider. The next days were filled with silence and slow learning. Marcus brought her food, taught her simple words: water, eat, friend. She pointed at him once, her voice soft and uncertain. Man. He smiled for the first time in weeks. "Yes, human. And you?" She only looked away, sadness flickering across her face. It was clear she didn't remember everything. Or maybe the memories hurt too much to touch. Still, they shared small moments. When Marcus swept the corridors, she followed, curious about the broom. When he sat to eat, she sat across, mimicking his movements. She laughed once, a light sound, when he spilled soup on his shirt. It had been years since anyone had laughed at his clumsiness. He didn't realize how much he needed that sound. But not everyone saw her the way Marcus did. The scientists wanted to study her. The officers whispered that she was dangerous. Some feared she might be a spy, a seed of war planted inside their station. "Why do you protect her?" one guard asked Marcus. "She's not even one of us." Marcus didn't have the right words. He only said, "Because no one else will." He knew what it was to be forgotten, to be left in silence. He would not let her face that alone. Still, a weight pressed on his chest. At night, when the alien girl slept in the maintenance room he had prepared for her, Marcus sat alone. He thought of his daughter again, how she had moved to the colonies, chasing her own future, how the messages had grown fewer, then stopped altogether. He had wanted to reach out but never knew how. Words always seemed heavy and wrong. Now, sitting beside this alien girl rebuilt from a single hand, Marcus wondered if he had been wrong all along. Maybe it wasn't about the perfect words. Maybe it was simply about being there, about showing up when no one else would. That was what humanity could offer, connection, even in silence. One evening, the alien girl touched his hand gently. Her silver eyes searched his tired face. "Friend," she whispered. Marcus felt his throat tighten. He nodded, unable to speak. For the first time in years, the distance inside him felt smaller. Not gone, but smaller. He didn't know if his daughter would ever answer his letters. He didn't know if the alien girl would remember her past. But he knew one thing. As long as she looked at him with trust, as long as she needed him, he would not turn away. Alien girl's body was rebuilt from just a hand. The first face she saw was a human janitor. And in that moment, the janitor discovered something too. Even the smallest act of kindness could rebuild not just a body, but the hope inside a lonely heart. The station was no longer quiet. Whispers spread like fire. Everyone had heard by now. An alien survivor was alive on orbital station Helios. Some said she was a miracle, others said she was a threat. Marcus knew what rumors could do. He had seen good people turned into outcasts, just because others feared what they did not understand. That fear was now closing in around the alien girl. Her silver eyes, once soft with trust, now often looked downcast. She stayed close to Marcus, hiding behind him when others passed. She was alive, yes, but she was also lonely. Lonely in a place where no one spoke her language, where no one looked at her without suspicion, and Marcus felt that loneliness too. At night, when his shift ended, Marcus often sat by the maintenance window and looked out at the stars. He thought of his daughter, again, far away on another colony. He wondered if she ever thought of him. The distance between them was worse than space. It was silence. He thought of sending another message, but every time he stopped. What would he even say? "I miss you. I'm sorry." He was not sure which words mattered anymore. The longer he waited, the heavier the silence grew. The alien girl, sitting nearby, seemed to feel it too. Sometimes she touched the glass, staring at the stars as if searching for someone she had lost as well. They were both reaching for people far away, unsure if the other side still cared. One evening, Marcus tried something different. He drew a circle on a scrap piece of paper and handed it to her. "This is you," he explained, pointing to the circle. Then he drew another circle far away. "This is your people." Her eyes studied the paper. Slowly, she reached out, drawing a small stick figure beside the first circle. She looked at him, then at the figure. "Friend," she whispered. Marcus's chest tightened. She understood. Even though she was distant from her people, she was not completely alone. The days passed, and Marcus tried to teach her more words. Sometimes she struggled, but sometimes she surprised him. When he swept the corridors, she followed, pointing and saying, "Clean." When he gave her food, she smiled and said, "Thank you." When he sat down tired, she touched his shoulder and said softly, "Rest." The words were small, but they were bridges across distance. Each one brought them closer, and yet, the world around them tried to pull them apart. One afternoon, the station commander called Marcus in. The man's voice was stern. "You've gotten too close to her. She's not human. We don't know what she is, what she remembers, or what she could bring down on us. You need to step back." Marcus clenched his fists. "She's just a girl. She hasn't hurt anyone." That may be true now, but what about later? The safest thing might be to remove her. The words struck Marcus like a knife. Remove her. As if she were nothing but trash. As if she were no different than the garbage he swept up every day. He walked out of the office with heavy steps. For the first time, he feared that he might lose her. That night, he found her sitting in the shadows of the maintenance room, hugging. "Her knees, sad," she said softly. Marcus sat beside her. He didn't know how much she had understood of what was happening, but she seemed to feel the distance growing between her and everyone else on the station. "I don't know what to do," Marcus admitted quietly. "I want to protect you, but I don't have power here. I'm just a janitor." She tilted her head, silver eyes shining faintly in the dim light. She touched his chest over his heart. "Human," she said firmly. "Friend." Marcus swallowed hard. Somehow, her simple words gave him strength. He remembered all the times he had failed to speak to his daughter, all the times silence had won. Maybe he couldn't change the past, but here, right now, he could choose not to stay silent. The next day, Marcus made a decision. He began speaking openly to the others. In the cafeteria, in the hallways, he told anyone who would listen about her. How she laughed when he spilled soup, how she tried to help him clean. How she learned words not to command, but to connect. "She's not a weapon," he said. "She's not an enemy. She's a person. Just like us." Some laughed at him, some shook their heads, but a few listened. A few began to wonder if maybe the janitor was right. Meanwhile, Marcus still carried his own ache of distance. His daughter was far away, and the silence between them still weighed on him. But one night, after watching the alien girl sleep peacefully, he finally picked up his communicator. His hands shook as he typed. "I don't know the right words. I just want you to know I'm still here. I miss you." He pressed send before fear could stop him. The message might never be answered. He knew that. But for the first time, he didn't feel helpless. He had chosen hope. Later, he returned to the alien girl. She was awake, staring at the stars again. "Far," she said, pointing out the window. "Yes," Marcus said softly. "Far." Then, she took his hand in hers and smiled. "Not far," she added, touching her chest, and then his. Marcus felt warmth spread through him. Distance was real, yes, but so was connection. And sometimes a simple act of kindness could reach farther than any message through space. Marcus thought things would get better after speaking out for her. He hoped his words would change hearts, but hope was slow. The station still buzzed with unease. Some workers avoided the maintenance tunnels where she stayed. Others whispered harshly when they passed Marcus in the halls. And through it all, the alien girl seemed quieter. Her silver eyes looked far away, as if searching the stars for something she couldn't find. Marcus knew that look. It was the same look he wore whenever he thought of his daughter. Far away, silent, unreachable. The feeling of caring for someone who was out of reach was heavy, like carrying a weight you could never set down. One evening, Marcus found her sitting alone in the storage room. She was drawing lines on the dusty floor with her finger. Circles, broken shapes, stars. When Marcus crouched beside her, she looked up with tears in her eyes. "Far," she whispered. He followed her gaze to the stars beyond the window. "Your people?" he asked gently. She nodded, pressing her hand to her chest. Then she pressed her hand against his arm, her voice trembling. Lost. Marcus felt his throat tighten. He wanted to tell her she wasn't lost. He wanted to tell her she was safe now. But he remembered all the times he had wanted to tell his daughter something, only to stay silent. Words were never enough, but silence was worse. So he took a deep breath and spoke. You're not lost. Not while I'm here. Not while we're together. She blinked at him, then gave the smallest of smiles. In the following days, she began to remember more. Sometimes she woke from sleep with a cry, clutching her head. She spoke fragments of her past, broken words in her rough human tongue. Fire, ship, boom, people, gone. Hand. Last. Marcus sat beside her every time, holding her hand until the shaking stopped. He couldn't erase her memories, but he could share her silence. And in sharing it, the silence felt lighter, but the distance between them and the rest of the station grew wider. One afternoon, a group of soldiers stopped Marcus in the corridor. Why do you waste your time with her? One of them sneered. She's not human. She'll never be one of us. Marcus stood firm. She's alive, that's enough. Alive doesn't mean safe, another muttered. Marcus walked away before anger could take over. But their words followed him. That night, he sat alone with his communicator in his hand. His daughter still hadn't replied to his message. Maybe she never would. The distance between them felt heavier than ever. He whispered to himself, Am I wasting my time? Am I trying to hold on to something that's already gone? The alien girl stirred awake and looked at him. She didn't understand his words, but she understood his sadness. She crawled closer and placed her hand over his. Friend, she said firmly. The word hit him like light in the dark. No, he wasn't wasting his time. Not with her. Not with anyone who still needed hope. The next day, Marcus tried again with her. He showed her his communicator. He explained slowly, with gestures, that his daughter was far away, that he missed her, that sometimes silence hurt worse than words. The alien girl watched him carefully. Then she took the communicator from his hands. Send, she said. Marcus frowned. Send what? She tapped her chest, then tapped his. Heart. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. She was telling him to send what was in his heart. Not perfect words, not careful ones, just his heart. So, he did. He recorded a short message. I don't know what to say. I just want you to know I'm still here. I'll always care. I hope you're all right. He hesitated, then pressed send. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Later, Marcus found the alien girl sitting with her paper and pen. She had drawn 2 circles again. One was her, one was her people. But this time, she drew a 3rd circle in between them. A small stick figure. She pointed at it and smiled. Janitor, Marcus chuckled softly. Me? She nodded. She was saying that he was the bridge, that even though she was distant from her people, she wasn't entirely alone. Humanity had given her a connection she thought she had lost forever. That night, she told him more of her memories. Through broken words and gestures, Marcus understood that her people had fought a great war. They had lost almost everything. Her survival, her hand regenerating into a new body, was a desperate last act of her species. She looked at him with tears shimmering in her eyes. Alone. Marcus shook his head. Not anymore. He placed his hand over hers. You're not alone, and neither am I. For the first time in a long time, Marcus felt that the distance inside him was shrinking. He still didn't know if his daughter would answer. He still didn't know if the alien girl would ever see her people again. But he knew this. As long as they had each other, they could face the silence together. The days on orbital station Helios grew colder, not because of the machines, but because of the looks. Everywhere Marcus walked, he felt the weight of whispers behind him. Soldiers shook their heads. Scientists frowned. Workers pulled their friends close when the alien girl passed by. Even though she never harmed anyone, fear wrapped around her, like chains. Marcus hated it. He hated the way people looked at her as if she didn't belong. He hated the way her silver eyes dimmed whenever she heard the whispers. And most of all, he hated that he didn't know how to fix it. He wanted to protect her, to keep her safe. But what could a janitor do against the silence of an entire station? One night, Marcus found her in the maintenance tunnels, sitting with her knees pulled to her chest. Her small frame trembled, and she hugged herself tightly. "Cold?" Marcus asked softly. She shook her head. "Not cold. Far." He sat down beside her, leaning against the wall. "Far?" She pointed toward the stars visible through a small vent. "People. Far." Her voice broke. "Heart. Far." Marcus felt the ache in her words. She wasn't just talking about her people. She was talking about the loneliness that gnawed at her, and Marcus understood too well. He remembered the unanswered messages to his daughter, the silence that stretched across space. He wanted to reconnect, but he never knew the right words. That silence between them had grown so wide, it felt impossible to cross. He whispered, almost to himself, "I know. I feel it too." The alien girl rested her head lightly on his shoulder. She didn't say more. She didn't need to. Two people far from those they loved had found comfort in each other's closeness, but comfort could not last forever. The station commander's orders grew sharper. "She cannot stay hidden in the tunnels. We don't know what she remembers, or what she is capable of. She could be dangerous." Marcus tried to argue, but the commander cut him off. "You're blinded by pity. If you keep interfering, you'll answer for it." The words chilled Marcus. He was just a janitor. One order from above, and he could lose everything. His job, his shelter, even his place on the station. And yet, when he looked at the alien girl's fragile smile, he knew he couldn't walk away. He began hiding her more carefully. When soldiers searched the lower decks, Marcus guided her through old ventilation shafts. When patrols checked storage, he tucked her away in his janitor's closet behind stacks of cleaning supplies. She followed quietly, never complaining, even though he saw the fear in her eyes. She trusted him. That trust was heavier than any burden. One night, while hiding together in the closet, she whispered a word Marcus hadn't taught her. "Safe." Marcus turned to her, surprised. "You learned that on your own?" She nodded, pointing to him. "Safe. With you." Marcus swallowed hard. That single word pierced through all the distance he felt inside. For years he had failed to give safety to his daughter. Not even safety of words. Not even the safety of knowing her father was still there for her. But here, in this dark little room, he had managed to give safety to someone else. Maybe that was the HFY truth. Humans weren't strongest in war or weapons. They were strongest in the simple act of standing by someone when no one else would. But the danger grew. One evening, Marcus overheard two officers speaking in hushed voices. If command learns she's here, they'll order her removed immediately. Better to act first, quietly. Marcus's heart pounded. They were planning to take her away. That night, he couldn't sleep. He sat staring at his communicator again, the same silence pressing down on him. He thought of his daughter. He thought of how distance had taken her away long before she physically moved. He thought of the alien girl, someone else who might be taken from him. He whispered to himself, "Not again. I can't lose someone again." His thumb hovered over the communicator, and finally he sent another message. "I know I was quiet too long. I don't want to be silent anymore. I miss you every day. Please, just let me know you're all right." The message left his hands shaking, but lighter. He had spoken, even if no answer came. The next day, he found the alien girl waiting for him with her paper and pen again. She had drawn 2 stick figures, one taller, one smaller. Between them was a jagged line. She looked up at Marcus, her eyes shimmering. "Far." He nodded. "Yes, far." Then she drew a hand stretching across the jagged line, touching the smaller figure. "Not far," she said softly. Marcus blinked, fighting the sting of tears. She understood. She knew what it was like to feel distant from someone you loved. And she also knew that even across distance, reaching mattered. That evening, when the patrols came searching again, Marcus led her deeper into the tunnels. They crouched in silence as footsteps echoed nearby. When the noise faded, she whispered, "Why help?" Marcus thought carefully before answering. "Because no one helped me when I needed it. I don't want that for you." She touched his hand and gave a small, brave smile. "Friend," she said. Marcus noticed the change slowly. At first, the alien girl only had flashes of memory, short words, broken images. But now, the memories came stronger, like waves that left her trembling. One night, she woke screaming. "Fire! Ship! Boom!" she cried, clutching her head. Marcus rushed to her side, holding her hands gently. "It's all right, you're safe." "You're safe now," but her silver eyes stared past him as if seeing something else. "People. Gone. All. Gone." Marcus's heart ached. He didn't know how to heal memories of loss. He barely knew how to face his own. The days after were heavy. She grew quieter, often staring at the stars through the narrow windows of the maintenance tunnels. Marcus sometimes found her drawing circles on scraps of paper, each one smaller than the last, until they disappeared. When he asked her what it meant, she simply said, "Far." Marcus sat with her in silence. He knew that feeling too well. His daughter was far, living her life on another colony, and every day he wondered if she thought of him at all. Every unanswered message felt like another disappearing circle. He wanted to reconnect, but the right words never came. He wanted to hold on, but the distance felt too wide. And now, looking at the alien girl's sorrow, he realized distance was not only space. It was also the silence between hearts. One evening, she finally spoke of the war. Through broken words and careful gestures, Marcus pieced together her story. Her people had faced an enemy so powerful that entire fleets were destroyed in hours. Her ship had been among the last. When the attack came, she had been mortally wounded. Only hand, she whispered, trembling. Marcus understood then. Her survival wasn't chance. It was desperation. Her body had been destroyed, but her hand had clung to life with everything it had left. From that hand, she had been rebuilt. She looked at him with tears sliding down her cheeks. Alone. Marcus held her gently. "You're not alone anymore. Not while I'm here." But fear grew inside him too. If her enemy had destroyed her people, what if they came here? What if the same force that wiped out entire fleets discovered that one of their victims still lived, reborn in a human station? The thought made Marcus's chest tighten. He had already lost his daughter to distance. He couldn't bear to lose this fragile girl too. The commander's warnings still echoed in his head. She could be dangerous. She doesn't belong here. But Marcus couldn't see her as a threat. He saw her as a reminder that even in destruction, life could grow again. Still, the distance between her and the rest of the humans felt wider every day. Workers crossed the hall when she passed. Soldiers muttered under their breath. And Marcus felt the strain of carrying a secret so heavy. One night, as they sat together, she touched his hand. "You. Sad," she whispered. Marcus blinked. "Me," she nodded. "Far." Heart, far. For a moment, Marcus couldn't speak. She had seen through him. She knew the same ache that lived inside him, the ache of wanting to reach someone who was too far away. He sighed softly. Yes? My daughter. She's far. I don't know if she even cares anymore. The alien girl tilted her head. Send. Marcus smiled sadly. I already sent messages. No answer. She pointed to his chest. Heart. Send. Again. Marcus felt a lump in his throat. She was right. He had always been afraid of sending his heart because silence hurt too much. But silence was worse when he chose it for himself. That night, he picked up his communicator and sent another message. I don't know if you'll ever read this. I just want you to know that no matter the distance, you are still my daughter, and I will always care. He pressed send, his hands trembling. The alien girl watched him carefully, then smiled, soft and proud. Strong, she said. Marcus shook his head. No, just human. But maybe that was enough. In the following days, her memory sharpened. She began to describe her enemy, shadows that swallowed light, ships that tore through stars. Her words were broken, but the fear in them was clear. They come, she whispered one night. They find me. Marcus felt his blood run cold. You think they'll come here? She nodded slowly. Yes, soon. He stared out the window at the endless stars. The idea of such an enemy coming for their station was terrifying. But even more terrifying was the thought of losing her, losing someone else he had learned to care for. He clenched his fists. If they come, you won't face them alone. Not this time. She looked at him, her eyes wide. For a moment, the fear faded, replaced by something warmer. Trust. That night, Marcus dreamed of his daughter. She was small again, holding his hand, laughing at his clumsy steps. Then she let go, walking away into the stars. He reached out, calling her name, but she only grew smaller and smaller until she was gone. When he woke, his eyes were wet. But the alien girl was sitting beside him, watching quietly. She touched his hand. Not gone, she said softly. Far, but not gone. Marcus swallowed hard. Maybe she was right. Maybe distance wasn't the end. Maybe, as long as he kept reaching, there was still hope. The day arrived sooner than Marcus expected. Alarm sirens echoed through orbital station Helios. Red lights flashed along the corridors. The alien girl's silver eyes widened in fear. She trembled, looking around the maintenance room where she had hidden for weeks. They, coming, she whispered. Marcus placed a hand over hers. Then we face them together. You're not alone. She nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Outside, the corridors filled with soldiers and officers. Commanders barked orders, but Marcus ignored them. He knew the official rules, but he also knew something more important. The alien girl was not a weapon. She was alive. She was a person, and he would not let her be treated as anything less. He called out to the workers he knew, the engineers, cooks, and even some guards who had watched him quietly in the past. Help me! Help her! She's not dangerous! Some hesitated. Others stepped forward. Slowly, ordinary people, humans who had nothing to gain, joined him. That was the HFY truth. Humanity was strongest not in armies, but in courage, in choosing to protect life, even when it was inconvenient, even when it was risky. The alien girl clung to Marcus as they moved through the tunnels. She pointed toward the vent shafts and whispered, Far. Safe? Marcus smiled, though his heart pounded. Safe with me. That's what matters. Every step was tense. Every sound could be discovery. But every time she looked at him, every time she held his hand, he felt stronger. They reached a storage chamber at the far end of the station. Marcus opened a small hatch and helped her inside. She looked around, her eyes wide. "It's safe?" she asked. "For now," Marcus replied. "We'll get through this together." He caught a glimpse of himself in the reflection of a metal panel, tired, worn, but determined. He realized something. Distance, fear, danger. They were nothing compared to the choice to act, to protect someone who needed you. The footsteps grew louder outside. Soldiers were close. Marcus knew he had to make a decision. He could stay hidden and hope the alien girl was spared, or he could fight, even with nothing but courage and the help of ordinary humans. He took a deep breath. "We fight. Together. The E." Alien girl looked at him, her silver eyes shining. She nodded. "Together." Marcus rallied the workers. They were not soldiers, but they were resourceful. Engineers jammed security systems. Cooks overturned carts to block doors. Maintenance bots Marcus had repaired months ago hummed to life, adding distraction. The soldiers hesitated, unsure of the sudden resistance. Marcus's voice rang out. "She's not an enemy. She's alive, and we won't let fear take her from us." It was a small station, a small fight, but it was proof of something greater. Humanity's strength was in courage, in kindness, in standing for others even when the odds seemed impossible. Inside the storage chamber, the alien girl watched Marcus work. She wanted to help, but was weak, her body still fragile from reconstruction. "Strong," she whispered. Marcus shook his head. "No, just human." She pressed her hand to his chest. "Heart strong." Marcus felt a warmth spread through him. She was right. Fear could be strong, but hope, courage, and connection were stronger. Hours passed. The station slowly quieted. Soldiers were held back, confused by the barricades and resistance. The alien girl, for the first time in weeks, smiled.